All right, let's talk about the first part of the intellectual preparation process, and it's called unpacking the standards. So you've got your Common Core standards, and a lot of places have unpacking documents, such as North Carolina. So I'm going to use North Carolina's unpacking to prepare for my first fraction standard that I'm going to be teaching my third graders. So I'm going to go ahead and go to their free resource, and here you see it's third grade mathematics. And then I would just scroll down to the standard that I'm going to be working with today, and that is going to be NC 3 and F1 right here. I also have this second document I use when I unpack. I call it my no-show template. So we're going to take my notes and make sure that I have done everything that I do to have a successful unpacking and intellectual prep process. So I'm going to start by closely reading the standard to figure out what students need to know and show, and also to identify some common misconceptions that might occur, and then write some targeted questions to help with my lesson planning. So I'm going to go on back up here and closely read my standard. Students need to interpret unit fractions with denominators of 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8 as quantities formed when a whole is partitioned into equal parts. Let's take some notes here. They're going to have to know how to partition shapes, specifically with denominators 2, 3, 4, and 6. That ensures that I keep my rigor on par with the Common Core when I'm teaching this standard. All right, what else do I need to know here? I'm going to scroll back up. It says they need to explain that a unit fraction is one of those parts. Okay, so I'm going to just copy that down here. So they'll have to explain unit fractions. They're also going to have to represent and identify unit fractions using area and length models. So I'm going to make sure that I put that as represent fractions. To make sure I really understand what area and unit fraction models are, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this unpacking. So for clarification, students are expected to explain that unit fractions represent one part of the area and length of the model. Yep, we already have that down there. We already have that we're partitioning into 2, 3, 4, 6, or 8 parts. Okay, here we go. Area models may include rectangles, circles, or other two-dimensional shapes. So I want to make sure that in my show portion over here, that students are going to have to represent an area model using either a circle, a rectangle, a square, or a set of objects. So I want to make sure I represent a set here as well. I keep seeing the word whole in this standard, so I'm going to write down here that it's important that students really understand what a whole is and how a whole is represented by a fraction. So now I'm going to take a look at the check for understanding. I see over here on the right side, Tamika has a piece of paper like the one shown below. She colors in one of the triangles. How much of the paper has she colored? So students really also have to know how to label or annotate a fraction model. So I'm going to put that down here in my notes under the show portion. I also see that they're using a number line as well. Even though this is a ruler, it can be considered a number line. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my show document, that students may need to be drawing or utilizing a number line to represent a fraction. Don't forget, this is a living document and you can add to it all year long. Just because you sat and unpacked the standards one time doesn't mean that you got everything down that students need to know or show, or even that you were able to predict all the misconceptions. When I taught third grade, for instance, I never realized that students were going to draw their equal parts into irregular shapes. So that's something I would want to add to this as well. As you find these things when you're teaching, put them on this document so that you have a reference year to year.